What's going on, Colts Nation? Appreciate you joining me for another video. And before we get into the video, just know that in the description there is a link for Green Gridiron where you can get mini helmets or authentic NFL helmets. Okay, and make sure to use the discount code INDSYN at checkout and use that referral code down in the description so that they know I sent you. Okay, so again, go to the description. Holiday season coming up. Mini helmets, mini helmet accessories, helmets, helmet accessories, whatever the case may be. You want it for you, your man cave, a loved one, whatever the case is. Mini helmets and authentic NFL helmets can be found on Green Gridiron. The link in the description. Again, that is code INDSYN for the discount code. I appreciate you stopping by. And now let's get into the video. So here we are, it's week 10 of the 2024 season. At this point, we've seen injuries to different positions. We've been able to get a good gauge on what this team really looks like. What are the real deficiencies on this team, right? And of course, Samuel Womack gets picked up. So coming into the season, secondary for us on defense has been better than expected. Obviously, week one, you start with Nico Collins, and he's out there getting a bunch of yards. We've led up some explosive plays. Obviously, Brian Thomas Jr. and the Jaguars in Jacksonville, and they put on a bunch of points against us. But, for the most part, secondary been pretty good this year, especially since Samuel Womack got in the lineup, right? Jalen Jones is cornerback one. And as long as Kenny Moore is playing, we're pretty good. So secondary's been pretty good. What are the other deficiencies? Obviously, Anthony wasn't having the best year numbers-wise. Of course, more goes into that than just Anthony's play. Has to get some help from the coaches, has to get some help from his teammates. But nonetheless, Anthony's numbers are what they were. We know that whole situation. We've talked plenty about it. But when you look at everything else, right? I mean, wide receiver, Pittman's been pretty disappointing, but he's been dealing with the injury, so I'm trying not to be too hard on him, but bro got paid, and it just didn't look good this year for Michael Pittman Jr. anyways. So hopefully he's able to, take a week off, come back, be a little more himself. We'll see exactly what happens there. Josh Downs, luckily, he's been able to come in, make some plays. We can see what the preseason hype was all about, right? Early in training camp, he was the guy, and then he got hurt and unfortunately had to miss some time here early in the season. But he's come back, and obviously, again, with Anthony at quarterback, all the receivers been kind of limited. So Josh Downs been kind of limited, but we have seen him come in and make some crucial plays. His instincts on the field are incredible. Just been very happy with him, right? Alec Pierce has been a pleasant surprise, finally coming into his own now that we have quarterbacks that can get him the ball downfield. And A.D. Mitchell has come in, and he's been a guy that, week by week, some things that clearly he needs to work on, but seemingly starting to figure it out. Seems like mentally, just hearing him talk, seems like he knows, hey, there's these things I need to work on. Sounds like he's working on the detailed stuff and just working continuously with Reggie Wayne to figure those things out. And so I think going forward, in the future, we'll be fine with A.D. Mitchell. He's just got some growing to do as he comes in the league, super young as well. So receivers, I think we'll be fine. Hasn't been as good as I thought it'd be, but we'll be fine. At receiver, offensive line, the depth that we have has been very good. We've been one of the better offensive lines in the league for most of the season. Last few weeks have been a bit alarming, but we're getting Bernie back as the left tackle. Tanner Bortolini is going to be in his center. Dalton Tucker has been a really good fill-in for Will Fries, who was playing well early in the season. When Mac and Savez has had to play, he's come in and he's done a fine job both at right tackle and left tackle. So happy with the offensive line, happy with the offensive line depth that we have. We've talked about pretty much everything, right? Obviously, defensive line, you want some more production there. We know who we are at linebacker. And with all those positions talked about, what does it really come down to? Well, we haven't mentioned Jonathan Taylor, maybe the best player on the entire team. And it's because we're not talking about Jonathan Taylor per se. This is about the backup running back position. And I made a video about the backup running back position a couple different times in the offseason because it was something we had to address with the injury history of Jonathan Taylor, the mileage Jonathan Taylor has on him. Hey, let's get somebody who can be a feasible backup option and get him in there for us, right? Just in case Jonathan Taylor misses time, and he's had to miss time. And in those games, And in terms of the run game, we really weren't performing very well, right? And we had a video just a couple weeks ago about how, the Jonathan Taylor effect and having Jonathan Taylor in the game and having Jonathan Taylor out of the game. Now, it does seem that having Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson in there together is going to make us as good as we can possibly be. But nonetheless, having Jonathan Taylor is a pretty massive part of it. When he's out, the splits are much different. So with that fact, we come back to this conversation of why didn't we address the backup running back position? There's no way you looked at the roster and said, hey, John, I mean, I guess Chris Ballard does have a habit of saying we like our guys, and they did say that in the offseason, but like Trey Sermon clearly just isn't like it's not that Trey Sermon's a bad back. He's come in and he's had different moments of being a good running back, but the consistency's not there. He's a veteran guy. You could have saved a little bit of money. And then there's Tyler Goodson, who has been more surprising surprisingly good, more than I thought he'd be coming into the year. I thought he'd be the odd man out in the running back room. Turns out that the way it sits, he should probably be running back 2 instead of Trey Sermon, to be completely honest with you. But nonetheless, when we look at it, like, what I wanted in the offseason. I had a video about a guy in the offseason. Hey, this is the guy I want for our team at that backup running back position. Come in, take the reins behind Jonathan Taylor, take some of the pressure off Jonathan Taylor. He can get some of the carries, 10 carries a game. Take some of that pressure off Jonathan Taylor, and it didn't happen. Well, the Jets are experiencing the fruits of having Braylon Allen behind Breece Hall, right? And obviously the Jets don't have a good record. Jets have a worse record than us, and they have the two of them. But there are obviously other factors that play in different teams. But I think if you bring in Braylon Allen, another Wisconsin running back, right? Like a lot of people thought that that's a big reason we got Jonathan Taylor, is because he went to Wisconsin, the connections that Chris Ballard has there. He knew a lot about him. And I thought when you looked at Braylon Allen, all the numbers just suggested, hey, this is a guy that we could bring in. Having him as a second option would be such an elite running back room, bringing him in behind Jonathan Taylor. And obviously, when you look at his RAS, right, relative athletic score, something that I think gets held against him is the fact that he didn't do, the 40-yard dash at the combine. He didn't do the agility testing at the combine. So some of that, not having the numbers on that, not having an exact, hey, this is what we're looking at type of numbers is why he ended up falling. I honestly thought we'd get him now. The question does come, who would we not have if we would have gotten Braylon Allen? Because I believe in the 3rd and 4th rounds, where I thought he would be drafted, that's where we end up getting Mackin Savez and Tanner Bortolini. So we would not have one of those guys. Or if we ended up trading different draft picks to try to move up, right, we could have ended up without Anthony Gould. We could have ended up without Jalen Carley's, right, 2 guys that seem like they're going to be part of the plan for the future. So, this 2024 draft, I think, was a big one in terms of building for the future. When you look at Latu, Mitchell, Gonçalves, Bortolini, Gould, Carley's as the first 6 selections for us. And really, actually, as I sit here and look at it, the only 6 of the 9 draft picks that ended up actually making the team, right? I think Jalen Simpson, right, is on the team but injured, something like that. I actually do think he's around. But the first 6 going to be a part of the future, which makes it difficult, right? Who would we have lost that could be potentially a big part of the team, right? Latu, Mitchell, Gonçalves, Bortolini, Carley's, those 5 guys could be starters for us over the next couple years, right? So when you look at it from that way, like, it would have been a hit somewhere else to bring in a backup, right? But when you think about how important the run game is in like the modern NFL, look at all the teams that are at the top. They can run the ball. They're good at running the ball. They can do it in any condition. They can push bodies around, and they can be the aggressor, and they have the backs to be able to do it. Now, obviously, any of those teams, they lose their star back. That's going to have an effect. But nonetheless, being able to have a stable of guys, and when I look, again, this is just looking at the team and looking at the deficiencies and thinking, man, why didn't we get this done? Why didn't we go get a guy like Braylon Allen? And of course, Anthony Gould, of all those guys that we named, Anthony Gould would be the guy that ends up being like, okay, that's one that could have been expendable. But, of course, if you're trying to trade up, right, you give up maybe that 142nd pick for Anthony Gold. What else would you have given up? Would we have not have gotten Jalen Carter's at 151? Could we have given up, a 6th-round pick? Or what would it have taken to go up enough to be able to get Braylon Allen, right? What would we have had to sacrifice? And, of course, that's all, hypothetical and this and that. But I just look at it, and, of course, he's not as explosive as Jonathan Taylor is. It's kind of, one of the things that really separates them. Jonathan Taylor running a 4.39 40, having a relative athletic grade of 9.53, and obviously Braylon Allen coming in not even having one because he didn't do enough. But right, he's 6'1", 235, which is what we're missing. That's really what this comes down to, is like you try to have Jonathan Taylor be the bruiser back, and we get in a lot of situations where Jonathan Taylor ends up getting us all the way down the field. Then when we get to the goal line, we pull him out because he's tired. We put somebody else in. Well, Trey Sermon, I won't have Trey Sermon in there, right? Just have Jonathan Taylor in there. He's explosive. He's patient. He can find the hole. He can wiggle through small spaces. So, of course, you want to have him in there. But you could take some heat off of him by bringing in Braylon Allen, who's 6'1", 235. Okay, his size grade is elite. He put up 26 reps on the bench. Okay, it's his explosive grade and him not doing enough at the combine where he ended up dropping. And I just, again, I look at it, I look at the team, and it's like, man, this would really help us. Now, would it help us be winning a Super Bowl this year? Probably not. I'm just sitting here thinking, we had the video about Chris Ballard earlier this week and the mistakes that he's made, and this is a video that I've had on my mind for a while. I've kept an eye on Braylon Allen and what he's doing over there with the Jets, and I think he's looked good this year. He does a good job when they throw him the ball. He's caught most of the passes that come his way. He's somebody who has shown some explosive ability. He's somebody that has shown that he can be effective both running the ball and as a receiver, and I think we would have benefited greatly from having him, especially because Jonathan Taylor and that ankle continuing to bother him as his career continues to go along. So this is just something I've thought about. Would love to know what you guys think. Of course, I think not getting Braylon Allen is one of the Colts' biggest misses of the offseason. What do you think we could have done differently in the offseason? What do you think Chris Ballard should have done in the offseason to make this team better? Right now, again, now that we're going into Week 10, good idea of how this team looks overall. What do you think we should have done differently? This is one thing that I've been thinking a lot about, and I want to know what you guys are thinking. Of course, let me know down in the comment section, and make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you continue to get notified anytime we have any more content dropping on this channel. Going to be live for the game tomorrow. Hope you're able to stop by. And, of course, I appreciate you stopping by for another video. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.